Welcome to the Charron Zone and howtobookgigs.com. This is Tim Charron, and I am here with TX2, otherwise known as Evan Thomas, and he's a hip-hop punk rock artist, and we're going to go over, number one, how you doing tonight? Where are you tonight? You're in Colorado?
I'm at Fort Collins, Colorado.
Right on,
yes,
man.
Sir.
Awesome.
Doing good.
I used to live in, I lived in Denver for about a year and a half and played music out there. With a
really?
band
What
called,
part?
The Highlands.
Okay. Yeah.
So we were called the Highland Mountain Boys. And
okay. Creative.
Yeah. It was cool. It was a good time. I really got immersed in kind of old school country in that band, and we played like the Fox Theater and the Ogden. Wow. And a lot of cool spots.
Nice.
It was great. So anyway, let's talk about you. Let's talk about a little bit. Tell us about your background, how old you are. Again, a little more about like what you do as an artist, your genre, and all that stuff.
Okay, so I'm TX2 from Fort Collins. I'm 19 years old right now. Going to the University of Miami. At the Frost School of Music. And I actually auditioned as a rapper into the school. And funny story, I was in the right place in the right time and ended up getting basically full ride or full scholarship to the school. And they're like creating a hip hop program, or at least they're like trying to start getting hip hop artists involved, with me and another kid named Andre pioneering that. So I'm studying music business down there, and but I'm trying to make it as an artist. I blend the genres of punk rock and rap, the two genres I grew up with, and I'm trying to make something new with those genres and be a performer. I just want to tour, make music, and just change the world. You know.
Right on. You know, small. It's good to have small goals, like
small goals.
Yeah, you know, like little goals, like changing the world.
Right.
For the better.
Something small.
Yeah. No, it's good. Baby steps. So what year are you?
I'm a sophomore this year. I just finished freshman year at the U.
Awesome. So what were you doing? Which is very, very impressive. That everything's going down like that for the University of Miami. That's super cool. What were you doing before? You know, like basically in high school. Music.
In high school. So it all started off in middle school. I was actually playing in a rock band with my brother, but when I moved into freshman year of high school, my brother was going to college, or he started making his way towards college. So he decided to give up music, which is, I don't know, you know, and I didn't want to give up music. So I decided that I wanted to pursue music, and with my drum knowledge, I realized that rapping is basically drumming with words. And so I ended up deciding that I wanted to be a solo artist, so I didn't have to rely on a band. And I'll eventually find a band that wants to work with me, but want to be an entrepreneur with my music. So I ended up releasing, freshman year of high school, I was releasing music. I was rapping in the hallways. I was getting into rap battles with kids. And then I kept pursuing music. I played my first show in Denver at a place called the Deer Hole. It's a small venue, if you've ever heard of it. It's weird. It's a weird place. Oh, the Deer Pile. That's what it was called. The Deer Pile.
Even better.
Yeah, it was a small venue. And I ended up like I was the worst performance of my life. I didn't know what I was doing. It was my first time ever rapping in front of people, and no one clapped. I basically got like not booed off stage, but people like told me to leave. And then from there, it was kind of like an 8 Mile situation where I told myself like, I'm not letting that happen again. So I probably spent 2 or 3 hours every day just listening to hip hop and music and trying to understand and study it, and then another 2 hours performing and practicing until I eventually kept getting better at my music, releasing more music videos. I took film classes in high school so that I could create my own music videos. So I ended up directing all of my own music videos. And then met one of my best friends I grew up with, Zach Norris. And it was the one person in high school who was really nice to me about my music, and he's my quote-unquote manager now. We kind of work together in it. I just every time someone would tell me no or that I couldn't do something, I decided I was going to do it. And somehow I ended up being one of the few people to leave my town, and I'm making it in music now in Miami.
I love it. You know, it's really interesting because there's a lot of parallels. I started in a rock band with my stepbrother in the basement. That's how I got into music, started performing Started performing for real when I was 16, and we played our first big show, and that was it. I just knew, the moment. It was really amazing because it was a school, Mothers Against Drunk Driving, big benefit, and they had a few bands playing, and there were probably 500 people there, and they had a huge PA, a huge lighting truss. They had a spotlight. I mean, they had the whole thing. It was like a mini concert at the school, and I just knew when I came out. I still use the same intro music that I used back in high school. It's like the old Elvis Space Odyssey 2001, I think it is, and I just remember running out. The band would start, and I would run out in the spotlights and everything, and everybody rushed the stage, and I was just like, "Boop, this is it. This is what I have to do." That's very interesting parallel. So, and what kind of music were you doing? You were doing what kind of rock were you doing with your?
It started off with classic rock and almost punk rock. Which is what I grew up with. Probably grunge, but grunge is the best way. We were doing Nirvana, Jet, covers of those songs.
Cool.
And then that's what I started off playing.
And you were the drummer in that.
I was the drummer in that. Yeah.
Awesome.
And my brother was singing and playing guitar. So.
Cool. Nice.
Yeah.
So, and this goes back to, okay, so let's talk a little bit about. Well, first of all, let's talk about how you and I connected. And then we can talk about the anti-bully thing and all that, because that will segue perfectly into that. So, for everybody listening, Evan reached out to me on LinkedIn because he saw I'm presuming that you saw one of the anti-bully tour posts or something like that. So, exactly. Which I thought was great because, a lot of people, I think, are kind of afraid to reach out to other people, So kudos to you. So let's talk about bullying. Now, so I do the anti-bully tour because I was bullied for 3 years in middle school. It changed my life. It actually, it was so bad that I went into the school as an honor student, and I left the school literally I didn't have grades. I went to summer school every single year until I didn't graduate with my class. But the great thing that happened to me was my mother, because I was being I was just everything that goes along with being bullied, the depression, the anxiety, the bad thoughts about doing things to that person or yourself. I was taking it out on my family too, Yep. Because I was just terrible to be around because I was just frightened 24 hours a day. Anyway, long story long, my mom kicked me out of the house and made me live with my dad. So I had to change schools, go live with my dad, and my stepbrother and I started a band in the basement, and that's how I started music. And so all's well that ends well with that. So tell me about your experiences with bullying.
I mean, that's an awesome story, man. But for me, freshman year, I went to a school in Fort Collins, which is I don't know that this necessarily plays with it, but I assume it was 99% white, Caucasian people. There's little to no diversity, and interestingly enough, with that you get a lot of the I don't know. I think diversity is very important. And so I was one of the only kids at the time when I started freshman year who wanted to be a rapper, who was saying, I'm going to be a rapper. And interestingly enough, that was a problem for all the other kids in my school because I was white and because I wanted to rap. And so everyone started calling me a lot of awful names that had to do with my race. Wigger was one of the names that I was called a lot. But that's where it started. And when I started rapping, I was really bad because there's a lot to understand about rapping, and it is an art, and it shouldn't be underestimated. To be really talented at what you do, and to some of the greats and the people who are big out there today, there's so much to it. And I didn't understand that, so the music I was releasing at that time was really bad, and everyone got catch wind of that, and so people started making fun of me in the hallways. And that's how it all started. But then I ended up getting physically bullied a lot. I ended up getting beaten up quite a few times. I ended up getting shoved into lockers. People would call. I mean, I don't know what words we can use on this podcast. Is there a restriction?
Not really.
I was called faggot a lot. I like everywhere. So I'd say probably once a day I was called faggot for 3 years. That's under exaggerating. It was really bad. Teachers didn't do anything. My school didn't refuse to help. I remember one day in class, some kid threw gum in my hair, and all the kids started laughing at him while a teacher was just teaching. And so I stood up and I said to the teacher, Mr. So-and-so, if you don't do something about this, I will. And nothing happened, you know? And so for me, it was one of the worst things that ever happened to me and one of the best. Another example, sophomore year of high school, I released a music video, which was so poor. Like, I understand that it was a bad video, but I had about, within an hour of posting it, 30 comments telling me to kill myself, and that I was the reason. I was the reason abortion existed. One of the comments, word per word, read, "Pity like mothers don't smother their children like TX2 and prevent them from breathing." It was bad.
Wow.
30 comments within the course of an hour. And for me, that led me into a really dark phase of my life, because when you're young and when your mind isn't fully developed, and I mean, it's not even fully developed now, but I've learned a lot. You believe what people say,
totally.
And you're so focused on fitting in that when people were telling me that, I started thinking about it, and I started thinking about killing myself, and I went down a very similar route because people were telling me to do it. And you know, the school ended up making a PSA video about me, and that was the most help they ever did. Which honestly didn't help; it made things worse. The school made a video on their video broadcast saying "Hey, you need to it was like an interview almost like this," and they interviewed me, and I kind of talked about my experiences. The next video I posted got twice as many death threats and comments.
Oh my god!
I became like a meme or a joke of my school or whatever. You know, everyone knew me as TX2, that kid who'd never make it, and that hometown rapper who was just awful. You know, and I retard, faggot, every name you could think of, I was called. I meet my friends, and I guess the only people who've been on my side can all agree that I think I was one of the most bullied kids to come out of the school. So it was awful, but there was a little bit in me that said that every time someone told me I couldn't do something, and every time someone said that, I had to prove them wrong.
I'm the same exact way.
And it started off with this. It started off with a phase of depression, and that everything I was doing in my life was worthless. I'll never make it, and maybe they were right. But then it moved to I hate them, and the anger started fueling. So I'm so blessed to have music in my life, because I could have done something really bad, you know.
Yep.
But the music was my outlet, and my revenge was being successful.
Success. I have full podcasts on exactly that topic. Revenge, success.
Actually, I think I saw one of them. Was it? I listened to one of them before, which is also what made me want to reach out to you. But everything I've done since then has been, I wanted to prove them wrong. I mean, and within the last year, I've come to a lot more peace and a lot more resilience, saying I want to prove them wrong, but now I also want to do something for myself, versus even giving them attention. But everything that I've done since then, and I think the reason I got into Miami too, I believe that the teacher, one of the teachers who ended up helping me get into the school, Kat Reinhardt, incredible woman, smart, talented. She ended up, I think she saw that, and I think she saw that what had happened to me, because I was angry during my performance, and I think my anger was, I'm blessed to have been bullied, because they drove me, but it was also just really rough, and I think it's just screwed up, you know, easy as that.
Yeah, I mean, it can be a double-edged sword if you're fortunate enough to adopt the mindset of using it to your advantage. I mean, when I was younger, I didn't purposely use it to my advantage until years later. And then, you know, things don't change all that much. Maybe just not physically, but, you know, throughout your life, you end up getting lots of haters. I mean, when you're creative, when you're putting yourself out there, that's one of the things that I talk about all the time is dealing with people are going to hate on you no matter what. You know, I mean, if you're
Right.
trying to be a rapper, or if you're being a rapper, or if you're being a country rock with a twist of lime singer, or if you're being a ditch digger, literally nobody escapes people hating on them. It's just when you're putting yourself out there and you're creative and you're trying to, you know, raise your profile, then you're just going to have 100 times more people seeing you, and then they're easily hate on you, especially online. But I've used it a lot in my career, and like I said, I go over it. I know that the reason that I'm doing everything that I do now, and the reason why I get the opportunities that I get now, is because certain people screwed me over. Certain people that I've hired tried screwing me over. And I would wake up every day and literally think, okay, how am I going to get these people back? Because I would never respond to them, you know. And I would literally start making phone calls. I'm going to book shows. I'm going to show
Yep.
these. I'm going to show these people. I'm going to show these people. And it's amazing when you can start doing that on purpose, like you're talking about, when you can do it on purpose. Now when people say stupid things, I'm glad, you know. But also remembering that you really have to focus on the many who love what you're doing, and then ignore the few. Don't let their voices be loud in your own head, you know. But
Right.
I'm glad that I didn't ask you the story before, because I'm just hearing it now, and that's incredible. So you use that to drive you to basically to work on getting into UM, and also just to work on your craft all the time.
Oh yeah, to work on my craft, to play shows. I mean, for the 4 years of high school, I was playing probably 5 or 6 shows a year, which isn't too much.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I was only playing. I only could play in my hometown or Fort Collins, or I could play in Denver, because I didn't have a choice to leave. So and by the end, it was crazy. I started my first show. I only brought in probably 50 or 60 people after the show in Denver, and then by the end, I was almost selling out every show I'd play in Fort Collins.
That's awesome.
People started believing in me, you know. So, I ended up taking that anger, and that helped me get to where I'm at.
That's awesome. That's amazing. That's absolutely amazing and inspiring. You know, I really, really believe that people that are, you know, whatever they're doing, musicians, it doesn't even matter what you're doing. I mean, if you're going to medical school, if you're trying to open a plumbing business, I don't know, whatever you're trying to do, you know, people are gonna, if you're trying to do more than you were doing before, there's just a certain percentage. It's a numbers game. There's this certain percentage of people that are going to come out of the woodwork, and it makes them uncomfortable, because people that are not doing anything, I hate to be, you know, whatever, judgmental about it, but people that are not doing anything, it makes them think about themselves, and they're like, oh, he's trying to be a rapper. Oh, wait, now he's playing shows. Oh, wait, now he's selling out shows. You know, like, what am I doing with my life? So they reflect it right back to themselves, and that's how people filter everything. So they're like, they try to tear you down because it makes them feel very bad about themselves. On the flip side, what people should be doing is taking any kind of negativity, and I just consider a win-win situation. You know, you have the carrot and the stick. You know, you have your goals. You have your vision of what you want to do, where you want to go, who you want to be, and you hold that vision in your mind all the time. This is what I've done my whole career. Back when I started, really, when I started taking music seriously, I started just playing solo acoustic shows on bar stools, and I would do it for, you know, I'd go and get paid to do it. And that's how I made a living for a few years. And I would play 5, 6, 7 times a week, 4-hour sets. And I would visualize myself. I mean, this probably sounds like esoteric bullshit, but I would visualize myself, in front of, while I was playing by myself. I would visualize myself on a huge stage with a band, performing for thousands of people. And I would do that all the time. And I would always have this vision in my mind of where I wanted to be and what I wanted to be doing. And this is it's what I do all the time. I play for thousands of people. I have an amazing fan base, all that stuff. So that's kind of the carrot. And then the stick to me has always been people's negativity. You use that. I mean, I can tend to be a very angry person. I have a temper. I have my dad's temper. And in the past 10 years or so, I've learned to use that temper, get mad and get to work. So
yep, I do know what you're saying. Been there, man.
Yin and yang.
Still there.
Yin and yang. Yeah. Yep. So awesome. So keep it up. By the way, I listened to your stuff, and before we even spoke on the phone, I checked when you sent me the message. I checked out your website. Thank you for having a website, number one. And you had your videos on there, and I think your stuff is great. I mean, I think you're really talented, great rapper.
Thank you.
I thought the one song that I referred,
really short term.
Yeah,
short term. Yeah,
is really cool. Really, did you write it?
I did write it. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, because I'm really big into songwriting, of course. And it has a great catchy chorus. So awesome stuff.
Thank you, man.
So let's move forward. And I just wanted to ask you, what so far is your best experience with music? What was it getting into the school and getting the scholarship and all that, or?
I mean, there was 2 moments. Number one was when I auditioned into the school. The program was like contemporary voice, but I didn't really know that I could rap for sure. So I was like, because they never had a rapper before. So I remember at my audition, Carlos was one of the people auditioning me, Carlos and Kat, and he said, I've worked with the BC Boys before. Like, I guess if we're gonna really involve a rapper in this school, I need to know that you can freestyle. And so one of the top moments I remember, I don't know what I was thinking at the moment. Adrenaline just hit me, so I started freestyling, but I was making fun of him in my freestyle. I was like, this man's wearing a suit and tie at an interview. What the fuck is wrong with you, dude? I was like I was going off. But apparently it made him laugh, and I guess that was also part of the reason that they loved me, and I ended up getting into the school, because I didn't think I could to start. And being able to move to another city, that's been incredible for me. The other moment, I would say there's 2. Playing my show right before I left, I got to crowd surf for the first time, which was an awesome feeling. And every time I've played a show, I've always had some people come to make fun of me. And at that show, no one was making fun of me. People were just loving me. I could turn the mic around and people would know the words to my songs. And that was like, that feels, you know how that feels.
It's the greatest,
it's the best feeling.
That
is one of the best feelings. It's incredible.
Yeah. That's another, man. It's just magic,
Yeah.
And that's another carrot.
There's magic to being a performer, man.
Yes, definitely. And especially if you have that in you, I've just always been really comfortable on stage and just loved the act of performing. So now it's like, when I'm doing all the work, this podcast is primarily for musicians and stuff, and I'm always trying to hammer home the point of treating yourself and your music like a business. And but we have this business where, at least the way I've been looking at it lately, is if I sit down and I do the stuff that most people don't want to do, and that's like booking gigs and contacting people on LinkedIn and calling people and putting yourself out there. It's hard. It's really hard because nobody likes rejection, and nobody likes rejection when they're selling. I mean, I don't want to say selling, but when they're presenting themselves, because as artists, we don't separate, our songs and our music from our own identity, right? So, in other words, people don't want to do this stuff, but if you can do all the stuff that other people shy away from, you're gonna win. And at the end of that, those hours of sitting there calling people to get shows and get gigs, and you've experienced this, is you get to perform for all these people and get the most magical, unbelievable, craziest high that you could never get any other way but to be performing for people who love your music and people singing back to you. And that's the payoff. So
right.
That's a good deal. That's a really great deal. If all it takes is you making phone calls and you putting yourself out there and you realizing that, it's a numbers game, you're going to get rejected. If you call 10 people, 8 people are going to not call you back, and one person's probably going to be a jerk.
Yep.
But then when that one person gets back to you and you book a performance and you get paid, it's unbelievable.
Absolutely.
It's unbelievable. So all these things, I just try to just keep reminding people, it is just so worth it if you keep those things in mind, man. I'm getting all excited just thinking about your shows and you crowd surfing.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that, dude. It's such a good feeling. You know that feeling, man. It's unlike any. It's like a drug. It's the best drug you can do.
Absolutely, man. Yeah. People ask me what it's like. People always ask me, I'll be about to play for whatever, 5,000 or 7,000 people. And people are like, "Did you get nervous?" And I'm like, I never get nervous. I just can't wait to crush that stage.
Seriously, man.
I cannot wait to. I mean, I have all these weird terms that people don't want to hear, but I just
let's hear one. What's the term?
Man, I'm trying to think of something that I can say that people will hear that they're not gonna be like, this guy's insane. I just want to fucking dominate. The stage.
Yeah.
I just want to crush people.
Yeah. Yeah.
In the best possible way. I just want people to walk away from my show having the best time that they've had in months or in recent memory. Right. And that's always my objective. And that is just I call it lighting myself on fire and letting people watch me burn.
I never heard that one, but I like it. Yeah.
That's what I do for a living, No,
I get it. Yeah, I can feel that, man. I know what you're saying.
Yeah. Yeah. So so that's amazing. So I mean, this is really interesting that you're so you were doing these shows in your hometown. You go through all this bullying, all this stuff. You're working on your craft. You're getting better. But admittedly, when you first started doing it, people were trashing you.
Oh, absolutely. And I almost deserve it. I don't think anyone deserves that, but I think my music was bad. You got to start, but you have to start somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
you're never going to start good.
You obviously had the guts to put it out there and let people decide for themselves whether or not it was good. But the interesting part to me is that you're playing shows in your hometown and people are coming out and you're having a great time. But then there's also some people that are coming to the show just to be negative.
I used to have that. Yeah. Freshman through junior year of high school, man. I like I said, I was my whole school knew me, multiple school districts. I could walk out in public in Fort Collins and some people would be like, "That's TX2," and it would either be like, "That's TX2," or like, "That's TX2," Yeah. So I was a joke. But marketing's marketing. I was known. I'm honestly glad for that too. It's rough as a human to understand that any press is good press in a way. Yep. We're not talking any extremes here, but Any press is good press. I remember, one of the people I've always really looked up to is Marilyn Manson. I really like his like social views, and that like if you are loved as much, like you should be hated as much as you are loved, and that's how you know you're doing something.
Right.
And that really resonated with me, is that the fact that just as many people hated me as many loved me. You're never gonna, if you're loved by everyone, you're doing something wrong.
Or if you're trying to be loved by everyone, then you're screwed.
Yeah.
That's really interesting, because I know a lot of musicians that are very talented, but they either don't want to market themselves. And when I first started, doing this professionally, people used to do the same thing. They're like, oh, Jesus, man, like, shameless self-promotion Tim, you know what I mean? Like,
right.
People would always like send me messages on social media like, dude, stop posting so much, like, why, you're all about yourself and stuff. And on the flip side, I see all these musicians that are very talented, but they don't want to market themselves, or in my view, a lot of them are just insecure because they cannot handle the inevitable negative feedback that's going to happen.
Right.
You're always going to get like 10% of people that just are sitting out there, on their couch, that just want to be a jerk online.
Yep. That's the world.
Yeah. So I mean, it's very interesting that a lot of people either, man, I know some really talented people that just, oh, I'm just not into marketing myself. Well, then you're not into the music business. I mean, if you're not into marketing, then you're not going to be in the music business.
Oh, absolutely.
Marilyn Manson.
It's cutthroat, man.
Yeah, Marilyn Manson is that's a great example right there. You've got to be known for something,
Yep.
And you have to put you have to put yourself out there and get ready to get those arrows in your back, pull them out, and shoot them back at people.
Right. No, you're right. You're right.
I just made that up too.
Yeah. Yeah, one of those phrases, man. But no, you definitely do. I know it's so important, because I think one thing I've also learned, actually I learned this just recently. I was at a HipHop open mic, and there was about like 60 rappers, and everyone sounded the same. Everyone was doing the same damn thing. And it's not that it was bad, but it was the same song over and over again. And I don't think you're going to ever make it if you're making the same song. I think like some artists obviously are making like the same song, but they're already big, and I feel like to be discovered, you have to find something that is unique, and you can't be like everyone else, Right. You always got to have something that sticks out.
Right. I really believe that, it's definitely a journey. You have to kind of do a lot of things, you have to throw a lot of stuff against the wall, see what sticks, see what feels right for you, and all at the same time figure out who you are as an artist, and then keep amplifying what makes you special and different than everybody else.
Right.
If that makes any sense.
That does make sense. I'm following.
And it has to be, and it really, like, I think these days it has to be real. It has to be like really what you are, and it has to be a deviations of what you already are, because people can see through fake stuff already. But going to like hip hop, like when you hear an Eminem song, it's Eminem. When you hear a Tupac song, it's Tupac.
Right.
So yeah, definitely, you need to be a little different. Obviously you need to be great, but you also need to be like authentically yourself, and really keep, like, as you go along, keep figuring out what that is, and you're gonna go like, I mean, I know I have anyway. I've gone this way and that way, and like more rock, and then more country, and then more this and more that, and then I'm kind of like, it's kind of like sailing. You go this way and that way and this way, and then you end up getting to the point where you really know what what it is that makes you special as an artist.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, if you want to talk a little bit more about, like branding and marketing and stuff, and how, just how you approach it.
For me, I know that I'm kind of on that note that you were just leaving it, is finding where you are. I think I'm at a point where I've almost found what I am as an artist, and I think it's so important though. It's just if you're gonna, everything's kind of that we've talked about, it's relating. If you want to make it in music, you have to have a business mindset of how you're going to sell yourself. You have to constantly put yourself out there. You have to find, just like any business, you have to find your niche. And you have to find what sticks out compared to the other businesses. Because you can't, right now, Coke and Pepsi, for a metaphor, if this works, have their own exact soda. And you can't really make something just like that and make it big. Right? They already dominate.
You're not going to compete with a cola.
So if you're gonna make your soda, you have to do something that's unique and that people remember it. And the same thing goes with music. If you're gonna be an artist, especially a hip hop artist, I know it's so important to find what your niche is as an artist. For me, my niche is that I'm blending the grunge, punk rock, and the things I grew up with today's rap, but still keeping a live band element, keeping the punk rock energy, but using rap as my tool of delivery. And I think it's so important for an artist to find out what that niche is for them, and how I think it's so important to always ask yourself, what is different about me compared to any of my competition? That is the best way to sum it up. And for me, I have that answer. I'm so close to finding myself, and I think my advice to any artist is write down all of the things that is different about you compared to the other artists, because that is so important. If you don't have it, to already have it, and then B, to remember that when you're marketing yourself, and everything you do should follow that.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, I mean, I see this in Nashville. There are thousands of clones of people, and they all look the same, and they all, wear a flannel shirt or whatever they do, or and they all have the same sound, and they all have the same topics that they're writing about. And I just want to scream, do something different. There's something different about everybody, and not being afraid. That it's a hard thing, because this whole conversation a lot of it has been about when you stand out from the crowd, even when you stand out amongst other musicians and artists, people will start hating on you. So you have to be brave. You have to be brave enough to do exactly what you just said. Really, keep tweaking and really, just figuring out what you want to be as an artist and how you want to differentiate yourself from everyone else, and then really running with it. It takes bravery, It takes bravery, like keeping it, doing shows in your hometown, and you have a bunch of people come out to support you, but then you have some other people that come to your show just to be negative. I mean, I think that's very impressive that you just kept doing it until it was all people that were supporting you. That's really awesome.
Thank you. I would say that that's bravery, but that's also a little bit of hustle. To add to this was that when I started playing shows, to get more tickets, I couldn't just sell post about it. I went on the streets of my town and I'd freestyle the people and try to sell them tickets.
Whoa!
I think for rappers, that's a really good idea, is to freestyle and sell tickets. I think whatever you do, the most important thing you can do is hustle. And whether that is, another thing is you directly message everyone you can. Don't just post anything outside of the box. There's bravery, and then there's once again that hustle. I think that's another thing that's really gotten me where I'm at too, is that I've hustled. Yeah,
absolutely. Yep. And stubbornness. I think stubbornness,
man.
Helps.
When someone says no, that means maybe. With music,
no means maybe. I like that.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So,
So basically, and what else? What do you have coming up? I know that you mentioned that you have a recent release that you wanted to talk about. So let us know what's up with that.
So I just released an album, and it's called 99 Proof. And the album, over the last course of the year, I've taken vocal lessons, and I made sure to practice an hour of singing every day, because one thing I wanted to do to add to my hip-hop persona in punk rock is be able to sing like a punk rock artist. So on this album, I mean, probably 75% of the songs I sing the chorus to. And so it's a mix. It's a really good mix of modern punk rock, more like people in the punk genre are very specific. When you say punk, they're like, no, that has to be the Clash, that has to be, Black Flag. Yeah. I don't know that I'm necessarily that punk, but I have like a modern take on punk mixed with rap in this album. And I had a lot of substance abuse issues that I had to deal with in the last year, and a lot of that and the problems that I've faced in the last year all came out onto my record. And I talked about personal struggles I faced within this last year. So for me, the album means a lot. I think it's the first time I've ever written an album where I've been proud and I wasn't trying to sell myself as anything else. I think this is the first year that everything I talked about, marketing yourself as something unique. I think that another good little piece of advice with that is if you don't know what to do and you really want to be a rapper, the best thing you can do to be unique as a rapper is be yourself, because there's never going to be another Evan Thomas who looks exactly like me and who's had my exact story. There's never going to be another you. And if your lyrics reflect your personal growth, stories, and things that only you have experienced, because no one's the same, right? Never. People can look the same, talk the same, but they're never the same. That's another way of being unique. And this album for me was the first time. My previous albums, I felt like I was trying to be someone. And this album, I think I just kind of like came to terms with, I'm not cool. I'm never going to be cool. And now I'm going to make an album about it,
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. That's raw. There's a saying that's pervasive in Nashville. Well, there's two sayings. Number one, 3 chords in the truth, which means keep it simple and keep it honest.
Right.
And then the other one, I'm drawing a blank. What was the other one? It's another very simple one. Write what you know.
Yeah.
I see all of these people. I've written with people that are trying to write what they think the song should be about, when, like you were saying, everybody has their own specific experiences. If you just write stuff that you actually know, or even a distorted story, but always drawing from something that you've experienced, it's so much easier. So I've personally I've never written for anything else or anybody else but myself, and it's just so much easier when you just draw from your own experiences.
Yeah.
And then it's completely authentic, and you're not guessing. You're not guessing what people want to hear if you just write stuff for yourself. And I got great advice from a book, an Anthony Robbins book. He was doing something. Anthony Robbins, the self-help guy. He was in the studio recording like an audio book version of one of his books, and the guy that was doing the recording was also a songwriter, and they were talking about his songwriting goals and everything, and this guy said one of the best bits of advice he ever got was to write for the wastebasket, meaning write songs that nobody ever has to hear, like write to just for yourself, and with the intention of just you playing it in your bedroom, and then if you want to just put it on the side and never play it for anybody, then that's your choice. And I find that that's a great way to go about it, because if you're not thinking about people and their judgments and what other people want to hear, then you're going to write stuff that you like, and without the pressure of like, oh my God, am I going to release this or not? if that makes any sense.
No, that does make a lot of sense. Yeah, I agree completely. I'm feeling it.
Awesome. Well, let everybody know where they can find your stuff.
All right. Well, if you want to look up TX2, it's TX2. You can look it up on YouTube.
Yo, that's capital
Spotify.
X.
Capital X in the TX2. Looking me up on Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube, Instagram. It's at TX2 official. That's where I do a lot of remixes, covers, things like that. And I just post about my life. Officialtx2.com. Just remember the name TX2.
TX2. That's capital T, capital X.
X, and then the number 2.
The number 2.
You'll remember it by now.
What's your website?
www.official and then officialtx2.com. Cool. So, and on that website you can find videos, music, and that's where I'm going to start updating more. And as I find ways to get on tour, play more shows, that's where I'll keep things updated. Yeah, man. And you're gonna we're gonna collaborate a little bit together and see if I can help you with that. And I'd love to. Yeah, man. Yeah, everybody, check out. I've been working on for me personally, the thing that people ask me the most, at least once a week, people will send me a message asking me how I book all these gigs. We just confirmed yesterday that we're going to open for Charlie Daniels again. Congrats, man. Yeah, thank you. We're stoked. Stoked, man. I mean, it's amazing. That's huge. It's gonna sell out. I mean, we've played there before. I've actually opened for Charlie Daniels a few times before, but not with my full band. And we know it's going to be a sold out show at an amphitheater that I play at a lot in Massachusetts. And it's the best feeling, man, when you're doing that stuff yourself and you're driving your own music career and you don't have to rely on somebody else. That I just booked, just to brag about myself a little bit. I just booked in the past few weeks. I think we're opening for 7 national headliners in the next 2 months. So, holy shit, man. Yeah. Good for you. I'm stoked. Good, man. For you. Yeah. I'm stoked to hear about it, bro. Yeah. So everybody, here's a reminder to go and download the free ebook at howtobookgigs.com. That's my book that I wrote, and my whole system of how I book gigs without having to pitch yourself and sell yourself. Definitely check that out. But yeah, man, we're definitely we're gonna get together when you're back down here and have some coffee, and we'll talk about booking gigs and just where you're going and what we can do together to get you rolling even more. So sounds great, brother. Yeah. I appreciate that a lot, and thank you so much for having me, man. Man. It's awesome. I appreciate it. So everybody check out TX2, Mr. Evan Capital Thomas. X, TX2. Check out Tim as well. He makes great music and is an awesome podcast. Thanks, brother. So everybody, do us all a favor, do yourself a favor, and subscribe to my YouTube channel, subscribe to the podcast itself, and we will see you on the next podcast. See you later.